So we're going to start with the big D word, divorce. In Canada, 40% of marriages end in divorce, which means there are many of you watching right now. You've gone through it, you're going through it, you're thinking about it. Joining us to get real about divorce and life after it is our very own Janice Meredith, along with divorce coach Alicia Robertson. All right, Janice, I want to start with you. We all know you as super talented stylist, part of the Cityline family, but there's so much more to you beyond that. Talk to us a bit about that.
Well, thank you for stating that that's what I am, because I definitely do not feel like I identify just as a divorcee or just as a mother of four. But yeah, I am that. I was pregnant with the twins. I was 5 months pregnant, and I had a 2.5-year-old and a 6-year-old, and we decided to separate and quickly divorce. That was after 12 years of marriage and 16 years together. So I was 35, 4 kids, house, and done. So there aren't that many life experiences that are that challenging and heartbreaking. So thankfully. So it was devastating, and it took a while to get through. But you know, what I didn't give myself before was time. And so now I have time without my kids, and I took that time to really embrace what I wanted to be, and I no longer was going to be someone's something. I was no longer somebody's wife or somebody's mother. I am so, you know, evolving and continuing to just really grow as a whole person, and that's the other side of that devastating experience that we need to embrace and celebrate more.
So you go through the heartache, it feels like your heart's been torn out and put in a vice, like it's all part of it. And there's grief involved, but on the other side, you have found some incredible moments about yourself and who you are and the agency of that. And I think that that's lovely for folks that are watching that are going through it and are going through the heartache right now. There's something specific you've learned from your divorce. What is that?
Well, you know, it's not like you don't get married with the intention of getting divorced. So. But when it does come up, the one partner, they have thought about it. They have processed it. They've taken the steps. They've emotionally moved through it, and then they mention it to the other partner. So there's one person who is, you know, the one who brought it up is at the finish line of the whole idea of divorce, and the other partner hasn't laced up their shoes. They didn't know there was a race, and they're not ready. And you have to go through all of that: the divorce, the parenting, the emotional aspect, all of it, all at the same time, and the other person isn't. And so you can't compare that stage. You can't be, if somebody had said to me, you know, they're in a different spot than you, and it's okay, and you can take your time to just go through what you need to go through. Do not compare yourself. That would have been a game changer. I was just always like, why? Like, I just, you know, was so shocked and caught off guard and overwhelmed with the finality of it, and yet wasn't ready for it.
Yes. Okay. All right. That's a very good point. Everyone's going through the stages differently and at different times, and you've got to give yourself the time to go through it. All right, Alicia, I want to bring you in now. You've been divorced for 8 years. You have 2 children. For anyone that is divorced, how can they avoid being defined by that label? So the first thing Janice said, I'm more than divorcee.
That's right. The dreaded D word.
Yeah.
So opposite and negative to marriage. Marriage gives us access to titles and labels that matter. The success of partnership that's to be celebrated. Access to family, right? All of these things, where in divorce, the first thing is the shame and the stigma, the failure. I'm not enough. If I'm not a wife, do I still get to be a mom? You know, what is my family if I'm not in a married partnership? And so it's really scary, because it's filled with all of the limiting beliefs that have been modeled for us. So it was really a great opportunity to start to unpack what are the fears and where are they coming from, as opposed to my truth. What do I value? What is my definition of family? And who am I, and how do I perceive my reality, so that I can be the leader in this next chapter. So the reality was, family to me was everything it had ever had been. It was connection, it was support, it was community, it was unconditional love, it was whoever mattered to me around my table, chosen family and DNA family. So in the end, divorce didn't mean I was no longer family. but I had to unpack these things, and it's a slow journey of healing.
I remember actually that moment where, because I totally thought, like, 3 to 5 years, I would be up and moving on in a new relationship, something different. And I remember that moment where I was, because I would have these lovely experiences with my kids, and I'd be like, oh, it's such a shame that I don't have a partner to be there with me. And then all of a sudden, I'm like, oh my goodness, why am I like subscribing to this crazy idea? Like, I am enough. Like, I am enough.
Yeah.
I have enough love around, and that has to be celebrated more. I'm going to be here to say we're celebrating women and celebrating independence and fullness.
Yes.
Yes.
Well, as I said to the audience, it's like it needs a rebrand, divorce.
Yeah.
We can't always see the end of things as being the failure of things. We can see things as being entering a different chapter of your life. You can go through the heartache and the grief. It doesn't mean all is lost, and it doesn't mean everything is bad. Like, come on. Okay, I want to talk about co-parenting. This can obviously be complicated. Janice, you say it's made you a better mom. Talk to me about that.
Yes. Okay. So no offense to the happily married couples.
Yeah.
But when you have two adults,
No offense taken.
Yeah. Two
Go for
parents
it.
in the house.
Yeah.
I feel like you're not always 100% on, but you could be like 75%, 80, or half
Try
listening,
50.
half listening, half doing something. Okay. You said that, not me. But then when it was me with my kids, I was 100% on. And when you're 100% on, you're listening to those little nuances. You're picking up on everything that they're doing. You're very aware of their world for that 100% of that time that they're with you. And then when they leave, because they're going to their other parents, then I had this whole other life that I got to embrace and grow within. But yeah, like I just learned so much because I was so focused and aware of it.
Love that. Sounds very appealing. Alicia, talk to me about co-parenting for you.
Yeah, for me, co-parenting is all about practicing new skills. So it is hard and it is complex, and it involves new partners and different parenting styles and values, finances, and decision making, but it can be positive.
It can be positive.
Yeah.
I want to talk about kids and resiliency. This is a point both of you have noticed. Talk to me about how this situation can help your kids with resilience.
Well, I think in this day and age, it's actually hard for our kids to find ways to work that exercise, that muscle.
Yeah.
But when they have to go between two different houses and two different experiences of like travel and lifestyle and schooling and how they're being parented, they have to adapt, and they just roll with it, and we don't give them enough credit for being resilient.
Yeah.
Yes, and they are able to roll with it. They're able to figure things out for themselves, right? Navigate their own relationships and work it out.
That's right. That's
Very good. Thank you, Janice and Alicia, for sharing so candidly. We appreciate it. So, as we just heard, breakups can be bittersweet, and often in the immediate aftermath, it's emphasis on the bitter but not the sweet.